Hello, this is Pete Ward. Welcome to my first Synapse demo, my first ever use of Synapse, in which we're going to attempt to load an Excel file from an external site. We're starting with a completely clean Synapse workspace here, and we're going to get a file from this open data source, from the TFL, looking at journeys, and you can see this data is available in CSV and Excel form. I'm going to go for the Excel, so I'll just copy the address of that download so that we can use that in Synapse. I'm going to start by configuring a linked service. This allows us to set up the address of that website so that we can use it repeatedly. I'm going to just link to generic HTTP connection provider and give it an appropriate name. So in this case we'll call it TFL data, and I'm going to post the entire URL in the description field so that it'll be handy later. We only need the base part of the URL here because otherwise we couldn't reuse it. So let's just strip off the end. Okay, and this site doesn't require any authentication, but the options are there if you need them. And let's just copy the path. We'll need that when we want to set up the actual content. That's done now. I just need to see what databases we have available, and because this is a completely clean workspace, we don't even have any databases. So I'll just have to slight digression now. You wouldn't have to do this more than once, but I'm just going to go away and create a new dedicated SQL pool to handle my ingest workload, and that's going to be a very light workload, so I'm going to reduce the size of the pool. Just give it a name and call it Ingest, and you can see I can sort of select the performance level. It takes a couple of minutes to start that pool up for the first time, and then we can see that we have a database and we have no tables in the database, which is good news because we're going to create one using our data from TFL. So let's now do the integration step. We shall use the copy data tool, and we'll call it again something meaningful. So let's call it load journeys. Load journey data, that'll work. And this is just a wizard, and the wizard says, where do you want this data from? I'd like it from the TFL data website, please. Now it's already populated some of this. I can paste in the relative URL. I'm going to be using a get method. I don't have any additional headers to put in, so I can move on to the next stage. It's downloaded the content. You can see at the bottom it's a bit of a mess. It's an Excel file, so it now loads the worksheet list. I'm going to pick journeys worksheet because I've looked at this before. Wait for the preview to load at the bottom, and we can see that it has a header row, so I'll just tick the box for the header row, wait for the preview to load again, and happy days. That is our integration data set. So now you need to look at the destination, and I'm going to put this directly into the ingest database that I just created, and a new table. So we'll call it TFL journeys. Next stage allows me to map the fields. I'm just going to tidy up the field names by taking out the spaces and removing the parentheses at the end. So I'm just going to run this section of the video at a slightly higher speed so you don't have to watch me type. That is done, and I can now move on to the final stage in the wizard. Right, it's not all done. I missed a few bits out. So let's now move on to the final stage in the wizard. I'll just take the defaults on this. There's plenty of options to explore here another day, such as what I want to do with rows that don't fit the schema. And it's now deploying, creating the data sets. It's actually building a pipeline, so I can go back and I can reuse this pipeline or make it a scheduled pipeline. On this occasion I'm just doing it as a one-off. If we now look at the database, we find that we have now a table of TFL journeys, and from here I will simply open an SQL query to look at the top 100 rows. So there's the data that we've loaded from Excel. It's now is in a raw form, but it's definitely SQL queryable, and we can do some simple graphs right there in the notebook. And thank you very much for watching. See you soon.